Good morning, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing. We wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The Silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you tuning in today, we welcome you in. In case you're getting bored by the background, you can see the trees have started to change color, meaning autumn is upon us. So if you have a chance, get outside, start looking around for the reds, the yellows, the browns, all those leaves that are going to come out. It's one of the interesting signs that we know when a tree is like that, fall is coming. That's the focus of what we're going to talk about today. The supernatural, in general. There's this history of the supernatural where most of it is pretty obvious. Nobody really questions it. And this goes back into antiquity. When the angels in the Bible come to judge Sodom and Gomorrah, Abraham recognizes them instantly. He doesn't question them. He goes right in and says, "Hurry, Sarah, need to make cakes and serve the best wine, everything to our guests." And he invites them in to wash their feet and treats them like royalty, like they should be. When these two same angels go into Sodom and Gomorrah, a whole crowd forms around to watch them and to to want to do other things to them. It's a rather grotesque part of Genesis. But they know that these are different beings. These are not regular humans. There's something different about them. Most of the time, whether you talk about Rama or Thor or anybody like that, when they show up, people know who they are. It is admitted that on occasion, gods do go incognito, and they generally will take a form of a beggar with a cloak or something like that, just so they will not be recognized. But you can see that the divine goes out of its way when it doesn't want to be recognized. So what is so interesting about the divine that they have to go to such lengths to keep themselves secret? With angels, you might say wings, but not all angels have wings. It's rumored that their faces were bright, whether it was shining like it is pictured in medieval drawings or in paintings, or whether it just means they were clean and the people around them weren't. Perhaps it was the style of their clothing, because clothing is pretty much standard for most of the world up until recently. Impoverished people can't afford bright, fancy things. They can't afford diamonds. So somebody coming into town like that, you would think there was something special about them. Whatever the case is, there's no question that these gods and angelic beings are different than human. They're relatable. We can talk to them, but they're not quite like us. We can take this into the modern age, where when people are around, ghosts and poltergeists and all the various things that go bump in the night. They know there's something different there. William James coined the term numinous, which means supernatural power. Almost holy, but not quite. And people who have been in contact always say that they have this feeling in their chest. There's something there that they know whatever they're seeing is not part of the regular world. And whether that's a ghost coming around and, going woo and all the traditional stereotypical stuff, although I'm sure ghosts hate that stereotype, or a poltergeist moving something around, you do get that strange feeling. Like there's something unusual, something out of the ordinary. There was a study that was produced, and basically what they did is they took human beings, put them into a low noise chamber. It's supposed to block all noise, but it's like 99.999% effective. And they subjected them to waves of 17 to 19 hertz. This is also the frequency at which our eyes vibrate. Yes, your eyes are vibrating right now. Whether you're watching this, whether you're listening, whether you're looking away, whatever it is, your eyes are vibrating. And when they did this, people started reporting feeling like there was somebody else in the chamber with them, feeling uneased, that same feeling of something supernatural. Now, some will look at this and say, aha, proof that ghosts don't exist. But I look at this and say, no, this is the most important proof that something spiritual happens. Tones of 17 to 19 megahertz are about the same that a lion growls at. Now, human ear will only hear 20 megahertz, but we have other abilities to sense. It's not just our hearing, our sight, our taste, our smell, and our touch. We have other senses too that allow us to feel. I mean, you've heard a jet go over and it shakes your bones. Well, it's kind of the same thing with a lion's growl. It shakes your bones. It triggers something in your brain that says, hey, I better start paying attention. There is something not normal here. And this is what I think is important when you look at the supernatural. Now, I've debunked a couple supernatural things already. I don't apologize for that. I would actually love to have a debate with it sometime. But I do believe in the supernatural. It's folly not to. And this experiment of the 17 to 19 megahertz range, I think, is fantastic. Because we all know in our homes at 3 o'clock in the morning when something goes bump in the night, we know there's no lions. We know there's no bears. We know there's no tigers. We know there's not really a threat. But we still get that sense, that numinous sense that something is wrong. It's an important survival strategy, but it also means that wave, that frequency is being generated somehow. Now, there's so many ways for sound waves to be generated, from electromagnetic disturbances to, a radio being left on at the wrong volume on a different level of the house. In the modern day, there's frequency generators, and in the past, it wouldn't have been too big of a difficulty for anybody with average electronics experience to say, okay, I can make a 17 to 19 hertz generator. Now, the study is pretty recent, so them just guessing it would be hard, but it would be possible. And maybe those great theaters of the past, like the ones Shakespeare built in Avalon, the ones the Greeks used, the really important theaters, all are said to have special qualities. They make the music sound more exciting. And if that's not aerodynamic, if that's a property of these places, that they're going to reach into those frequencies slightly lower than we can hear and amplify them, that would explain why people were so entranced with theater. Right now, theater has a bit of a bad reputation that's quite undeserved, in my opinion. I respect local theater. I support it as much as I can. I'm a former stage and lighting tech. And honestly, theater is kind of fun. But the new theaters are not built to that same standard. And that's why people, when they go, they think of show tunes and stuff like that. They don't think about going to have this all-encompassing experience. Even a concert can be an all-encompassing experience. I mean, look at when you get, Pink Floyd or Aerosmith or, Black Sabbath or anybody like that coming. People say it is an experience because it's the crowd is drawn into what the band is doing, almost like a ritual. Going back to this sense of otherworldliness, though, in our homes, we think we control everything. We think we are the masters of our domain. And indeed, if you own your house or even if you're renting, you have the right to choose whether you're going to put a picture up on your wall or not. It's your right to decide whether you're going to have a bed and a set of drawers or if you're going to have bunk beds. No one's going to argue. If it's your house, you can renovate the whole thing. It's not going to be a problem. But you also know when something is out of place. I've seen it many times. Somebody walks into one of their own rooms, something's out of place, I don't know what it is. They naturally recognize something is out of the ordinary. So when we read these ancient reports of gods and angels and other supernatural beings walking among the living, unless they are disguised, people sense there's something wrong with them. There's something different. And even sometimes with their disguise, people can kind of figure out what's going on. So I think for the ghost hunters out there and the people who are curious at finding more out, we need to do more research into those frequencies, those 17 to 19 megahertz areas. 17 to 19 hertz areas. Because that seems to be our target, and we don't know everything that can produce them. Maybe, just maybe, static electricity can produce it. And if so, what's causing the static electricity? Most houses are made of wood. They can still get static electricity. Some houses are made out of stone and brick. That can still generate static electricity. Helicopter generates a hell of a lot of static electricity. That's why when you see them, they drop the rope on the ground before anybody climbs up it, because if you catch that rope, it can give you a hell of a static shock. And if it is static electricity involved, that also explains why people say that their skin starts to tingle, their hair starts to raise. Everyone's done that experiment with the balloon where you rub it on your hair, for those of us who still have hair, and then put it on the wall. And then if you put it over your arm, the hairs on your arm will stand up. So something as low-tech as static electricity and as 17 to 19 megahertz sound burst can replicate what ghosts and spirits can do. And it also could be what's happening with these angelic beings. So how is it being produced? This is the mystery. Science doesn't explain everything. It tries. It does a damn good job. But there's some things scientists just have to say, we don't know. And that's okay. We're discovering new things all the time. Maybe we can't answer it today, but we have to start doing the research to answer it tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that. But for some reason, people aren't looking into this coincidence between static electricity and 70 to 19 hertz. It's really time we started doing that instead of trying to record voices and use using low light and infrared cameras are good things, because that will at least start getting us in the same area. But instead of treating them as the ends, we need to treat them as a means to the ends. This is giving us our evidence. Where did that infrared blob come from? Why does this area seem to be colder and we all feel spooky? This is the key that we need to address. I actually had plans on writing a book about it, but it's a very unwieldy, complicated subject. It's easier for me to explain it like this. So, in short, frequencies between 17 and 19 hertz. I keep on saying megahertz, and it's just hertz. So 17 to 19 hertz make you feel different, like there's something wrong. Static electricity makes your skin crawl and makes all sorts of things happen. And we know from ghost investigators that they've pinpointed odd temperature spikes and variations in a room. It's time we all start putting these together. And that should be a contribution to the field, because I like the idea that ghosts are our ancestors visiting us, but there's so many different types of ghosts. There's ghosts, there's poltergeists, there's just strange things that happen that don't seem to have any explanation. And it would be a really good starting point, because there's those ghosts that reappear on regular occasions, and there's those ghosts that show up one time and then they're gone. And in the wild, maybe this could help explain why people see all the crazy things in the dark that we do. Mysterious animals, mysterious creatures, mysterious beings flitting in and out of the darkness. Because if this can happen in a perfectly controlled environment like a house, of course it's going to happen in nature, where electricity is everywhere and all sorts of frequencies are bombarding us at all times. But anyways, we hope you enjoyed today's show. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. And we hope you have a fantastic day.